Hello everyone, how are you doing? Welcome to a Year in Sizecoding. This is part 1, covering the months from January to July of 2022. We went through all the demoscene releases that had size coding in it. So anything that was from 8 bytes to 512 bytes. And we put this video together just to show you all of the highlights of the year, what you missed, some hidden gems, all that kind of stuff. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed the selection. And let's get right into it because we have a lot of entries to talk about. So the first entry of the year that we had was Epi 2022 by F-Ready for the Atari. Good entry to start up the year. We had a demo party happening right away in the beginning of the year. Dihalt happening in Russia. They had a couple of size coding competitions on it. The winner of the high-end 256 byte intro competition was Corda by Marquee Design, released both for the Pico 8 and the tic-80. And then for the ZX Spectrum, on the low end 256 byte intro competition, we had Fool's Mask by Joker, also very interesting release worth checking out. Well, 1 month later, we had Lovebyte happening online, which, as you know, is the biggest demoscene event for size coding things. A lot of different things happening. An 8-byte showcase with 21 entries. Most of them were just glitch things, but still worth exploring the small sizes. Then we had the Oldschool 16-byte intro competition with 17 entries. The winner was this one, Microwaves by Super Rogue and Goblinish. On the high-end side of 16 bytes, total of 9 entries on the competition. The winner was Ruler by Byte Observer, also very interesting release. Doubling the bytes on 32 bytes old school competition. We had Sea Calm by Koala getting 3rd place. Then in 2nd place, CGArchDragon by Helmut of Desire for the MS-DOS using CGA colors, as you can see. And then in 1st place of the old school category, we had Colorful Boxes by Gunstick of Unlimited Matrix. There was a total of 18 entries on this competition, very tight competition. Moving on to the high-end 32-byte intro competition, we had a total of 20 entries. The 2nd place was Earthview, 32 bytes by Helmut. And then the winner was Magmarizer by Marquee Design, having this magma effect for the MS-DOS. Moving on to the old school 64-byte intro competition, we had a total of 18 entries. 2nd place was this very cool intro by Joker, Satellite View of Flower Fields. Had different effects on it based on the same concept, so a very cool thing. It was a personal favorite of mine. Hope you enjoyed it as well. Then we had in 1st place Dekabyte by Illusory of Agenda, also very interesting release for the Atari. On the high-end side of 64-byte intro competition, we had a total of 23 entries, very close competition. The 5th place was Federal Bureau of Control by Digimind, very interesting release for the MS-DOS. Then we had Minitrip by Pestis of Brainless Coders in 4th place, also for the MS-DOS. And then in 3rd place, Throughput by Exoticorn. Particular mention that this was made for the Micro W8, which uses WebAssembly, size coding in WebAssembly. So very interesting, different kind of platform. In 2nd place, we had Zima for the MS-DOS made by Arjola. And then in 1st place, Alien Core by Helmut for the MS-DOS as well. Very nice raycasting scene and has some sound as well in it. The old school 128 bytes had a little bit more room, 18 entries overall. This was the winner, Interstate 128 by Marquee Design, a very interesting release. Then we had the Fantasy Console competition. Fantasy Console didn't exist for all the bytes, only for specific ones, 128 bytes and 256. 7 entries for this category of 128 bytes. Days of Yore by Yore got 2nd place. And then in first place we had Illusory by Exoticorn for the Micro W8. On the high-end category, we had third place for P. Malin with the entry Dawn 128 for the MS-DOS. Then Alien Crystal 128 bytes by Helmut got second place. And Star Trip by Bestis won with this very good raycasting scene of cubes floating around in space for the MS-DOS. Old School competition, 256 bytes, total of 32 entries, very intense competition. In third place we had Catherine's by Koala. In second place, Parallax 256 by Serato, Finnish Gold for the Commodore 64. We don't see that many Commodore 64 tiny size coding entries, so this was really cool to see. And then in first place we had Murkwood by Illuminate of Agenda for the Atari. Very moody setting, very good release. Another of my personal favorites from Lovebyte. Then we had the Fantasy Console 256 byte intro competition with 30 total entries, a very good compo as well. Third place for Message from Outer Space by Shy. In second place, The City Never Sleeps by Exoticorn for the Micro W8. And then in first place, Tic-tic-doom by Gopher of Alcatraz with some voxel ray marching things as well happening on the TIC-80 and doing a whole city out of it. Really cool. Moving on to the high-end competition, we had a total of 7 entries, not that many, but all of them pretty high quality. In third place we had Tubiform by Pestis of Brainless Coders. In second place, The Dream We Used to See by Sense Install. And then in first place, Hope by Helmut of Desire. All of them really cool entries. Moving on to the Old School 512 bytes, this was the winner entry, The Most Beautiful Thing by Joker, made for the ZX Spectrum, having a special aliasing thing. Took quite a long time to render the thing, but yeah, very good entry, especially for that size. Moving on to the high-end 512 bytes, only 11 entries, but all of them pretty good quality. In third place we had Uwe Golio by Abaddon for the MS-DOS. Then in second place, Weather Forecast from Micrisp using the special custom hardware with the oscilloscope, was very cool entry. And then in first place, Pulsating Magic Orb by Pestis for the TIC-80 won the competition. So a lot of entries for Lovebyte and all different kind of categories. After Lovebyte was over, we still had a few releases coming out that are worth highlighting. Ukraine by Illuminate was released right after the war started between Russia and Ukraine. Became quite popular, made for the TIC-80, mixes a bit of politics, and it can be qualified as art. For some people, there was quite a discussion if this is art or not. Then we had GPU Mandel 256 byte for the Atari Jaguar, also worth highlighting because there aren't that many Atari Jaguar size coding efforts happening. And then revision happened in Easter as always, and they have a 256 byte intro competition. A couple of entries that we wanted to highlight. DE6215, which is an I-wing to debris of Farbrush. This was released by Gopher of Alcatraz, got third place, and it features this raycasting, raymarching city being destroyed, just like debris. This got third place on the competition. Second place, Line Rider by Sebert, was also very interesting release. Good use of music, very tight sync between the visuals and the sounds. Then in first place we had One by Helmut of Desire for the MS-DOS. In Poland there was a special demo party happening surrounding the Spectrum. Specky.pl is the name of the event. They had a 256 byte intro competition, which was won by this entry, Trip to a Party by Gorg of Agenda. It was very cool, cute little release. Another release outside of any competition was Splash Screen 4 by Sense Install, also worth checking out. Very interesting colors and nice style. Then we had a Jumalalta Faryan party happening on the boat, and there was a couple of Sizecoding entries released there. One of them was Hardcore Software Engineering by Passikivi Kekkonen Linja from Jumalalta, and this was the entry that it did for the tic-80. Moving on to Holland, they had outline demo party happening with a couple of, actually 4 different Sizecoding competitions. Oldschool 128 bytes was won by Patchwork by Market Design for the Atari. Then the 128 byte intro competition for New School platforms was won by Shift Right by Market Design. Made for the micro W8, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's MS-DOS. Okay. The New School, the Old School 256 byte intro was won by Bitplane Revolution by P. Malin. Very interesting release for the ZX Spectrum, abusing the attributes of the characters there. And then the New School 256 byte intro, which was overwhelmed a little bit by fantasy console stuff. In 4th place, Melodic by Dresden Boy, having some speech synth in tic-80. It's a very interesting release. Quickie by Pestis of Brainless Coders, also for the tic-80, getting 3rd place with this tunnel effect. Relaxation Exercise by Exotic Horn for the Micro W8 got 2nd place. Then in 1st place we had Thrive by Ilmenit of Agenda, also for the tic-80. Very cool scene with this tree and going through the seasons, really well made. Congratulations on that. Other events that happened that also had Sizecoding competitions. Field Effects in the United Kingdom had a fantasy console 128 bytes. 2nd place was for Electromagnetic Wave by The Watcher, and then in 1st place Silos by Marquee Design. QB Party in Hungary also had a 256 byte intro competitions for DOS and tic-80 entries. The 1st place was won by Illumination with past 256. Then moving on to France, there was also a couple of entries released at their 256 byte intro competitions, a total of 5 overall. It was won by Perfect Storm by Marquee Design yet again. Marquee Design doing a world tour of submitting entries to every single party that they can. Moving on, in Sweden, Summer Hack happened, dedicated to the Atari. And they had a 256 byte intro competition that was won by Marquee Design again with Shiraz or the Atari STE. In Poland we had the Lost Party with a total of 7 entries on their 256 byte intro competition. It was won by Monument in the Rain by Gorg of Agenda. And then back to Sweden, we had a couple of Sizecoding entries hidden in the different compos that they had. One of the ones that I wanted to highlight is Code Not War by Wilkins of Five Finger Punch, made for the ZX Spectrum, that got 4th place on their old school demo competition. And then the last entry that we wanted to highlight was made for the small party in France, in Nancy, France. It's a small Atari party. Super Rogue of Market Design submitted a little entry there, 64 byte intro for the Atari called Illusory. So yeah, these are all the entries that we wanted to highlight from this first half of the year. Hope you enjoyed the video. You found some hidden gems, hopefully, or remembered some things that you might have forgotten since last year. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you next part. Enjoy Lovebyte. Bye bye everyone. Take care.